Hello, hello, hello. So glad to see all of you coming in.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Commodore, so glad you're here. Listen, I hope you breathe today from your diaphragm and you really, really relax. I know things are just seeming as if, they're going so fast. And that's one of the reasons why we're doing this. We're doing this in order to just help us as Florence School District 3 employees take time to really understand our emotions and what we're feeling. And so we're going to be talking to you today about self-care and self-compassion. And why are we doing that? We're doing that first, we just want to welcome all of you. We know your lives are quite busy, so thank you for taking time to come in. Thank you so much for taking your time to come in. And so let's go on with it. All right. I made someone. Let's see. Okay, so we are, and I'm not sure why my slides are not sliding. There you go. Hey, I will use the space, use the space bar. Okay, let's talk about the rationale why we're doing this. We are doing this because we know that focusing on the social and emotional needs of adults can improve adults' well-being. So we're concerned not just about the children's well-being, but we are also concerned about your well-being. It's important that the adults that are taking care of the children are okay. That is so important. And so that's why we're doing this. And we know that when you're doing well, you're creating a positive work environment, you're increasing feelings of competence and self-efficacy, and you're also modeling skills for students. When you know how to be SEL competent, what you're doing and what we're teaching the students in our offices, you're learning that so you can model it to them. And so we want to thank you for coming in because this is very important. So we know that self-awareness, when you are aware of yourself, a lot of times you will be aware of others as well. We're going to go into some deep talk about self-awareness, but for right now, what we want to do is to let you know that if you are aware of what you're feeling, what you're seeing, what you're experiencing in the moment, what will happen? You will find out that you're able to handle your emotions a lot better. So keep going.
Because a lot of people are calling me.
If you will mute yourself if you have to talk, please mute. Thank you. So when you understand your own emotions, your thoughts and values, and how they influence behavior across contexts, you will find out that things will be better for you. We're excited about so many people coming in to hear us today. So SEL is the competence that adults need in order to manage stress. How many of you have stress? Anybody has stress? I think we all do. But learning how to manage them, then you will create a safe and supportive environment with the skills and mindset adults need to effectively embody, teach, and coach SEL for students. And, you may be saying, well, I know this already. Well, it's good to hear it again. It's good to hear it again. And so, and the more we practice SEL, the more competent we will become at doing it. So as you see, SEL, when it's done right, it's done holistically. What we did last year is that we were doing SEL with the students. And when we did SEL with the students, if you look at this wheel, you will see that it's supposed to be done in several environments: at home, in school, in classrooms, and in community. And so we've, for the past, I will say maybe 2 or 3 years, we've been doing it with students in our offices. But what we want to do is to make sure that everyone involved, we're launching it now to the general population. And we're going to start with self-awareness. We're not going to talk about the other pillars because I'm sure you've seen this before. We're going to start with self-awareness. And what is self-awareness? It is the ability to recognize one's own emotions, thoughts, and values, and how they influence behavior. You know, you identify your emotion, you have self-perception, you recognize your strength, self-confidence, and self-efficacy. So that's exactly what we're doing here today. And so it is important for you to know. And we're going to let you come in a minute. You're going to come in a minute. But it's important to know that it's very difficult to teach what we're not modeling. For example, if a student is in your room and they're misbehaving and you're yelling and they're yelling, what is the SEL skill that you're modeling to those students? That when you are not in charge of your feeling or you feel out of control, you go ahead and you yell. It's very important that we understand that it is very difficult to teach what we are not modeling ourselves. And so we want to be able to model the skills. How do we identify our emotions? And how do we take care of ourselves so we can take care of the children? So we have to be aware of our own thoughts and feelings. And that will help you to model it to the students. So for instance, let me give you an example. You're in a classroom and a student is just really off, just awful, talking while you're talking, just really, trying to distract your room. What do you say? Johnny, sit down, or stop talking. Or what, the SEL way to do it is to say, you say to the class, I'm really getting a little disturbed right now because I really don't like when people talk when I'm talking. It makes me sad. What you're doing is identifying the feeling and modeling it to the student, how to handle that. How to handle that. And so, Johnny is just talking. Class, I am really not happy right now because someone is talking while I'm talking, and that made me very sad. That's it. You will get more done identifying and modeling, handling emotions than you will doing it the way you've always done it. And so what we want to share with you are some ways that you can do things a little differently in your classroom by just simply being in charge of yourself and your own emotions and modeling that to the students. So you have to learn how to identify your own thoughts and feelings, and you say it out loud so the students know that you are aware of what you're feeling right now. You're in that moment and you're feeling. So learning how to be kind to yourself will allow you to be kind to others. A lot of us don't know how to be kind to ourselves. And this is what I want you to look at right now. And you tell me, answer in the chat. There are 2 batteries there. One is full, this one to the left of my screen. I'm not sure what screen you are, but of course you definitely can see the battery that's drained. It's laying on the floor and it's losing whatever batteries use. So what I want you to do right now is to put in the chat. Are you full? We're at the beginning of our school year. Are you full or are you drained? And if you are, regardless of which one you are, let me see if I can look in the chat and see. I see some comments coming in. Oh my goodness, I love it that all these people are just full. Wonderful. Somebody say I'm somewhere in the middle. Full. Wow. I am full. Good afternoon, everyone. Miss Christie, great seeing you. So most of us on here are full. So what you're learning today is to identify whether you're full or empty. Somebody say I'm in between. When you know where you are, you can be better for the kids. And so I'm going to close out this chat so we can move on. But how many of you are really good at treating yourself well, at self-compassion and self-care? Go ahead and put that in the chat. How are you at caring for yourself? Somebody say, not me. Oh my goodness. Some of us are not good at taking care of ourselves. Not at all. Somebody say here, I'm getting better. I'm not good at it, pretty good. I need to work on that. And that's why we're here. That's exactly why we're here. Because what we are finding when you are depleted and you're not caring for yourself properly, then you tend to be a little bit more short with staff, faculty, and each other and the children, right? And so what is self-compassion? How many of you do this well? Is treating yourself the way you would want to treat a friend who is having a hard time? How many of us treat ourselves well the way we would a friend who is having a hard time? Put that in the chat if you do well at that. Very important. When we say self-compassion, the reason why we began this talk with this and today with this particular, not only is self-awareness is the leading of SEL, but we also want to share with you that when you're not taking care of yourself, it could cause a lot of things to happen. So self-compassion is treating yourself the way you would want to treat a friend who is having a hard time. What do you do when you're having a hard time? Do you say to yourself, that's exactly what happens? Thank you for being honest. I love honesty. Mr. Batiste said, I'm very tough and critical of my shortcomings. I want to ask you, would you be critical of your shortcoming if you're with a friend who is talking to you about having a hard time? What would you say to that friend? Write some words that you will say to that friend when they're having a hard time. And they come to you and they say to you, you know, I'm having a tough time. My day, oh my God. Woo. Would you say, get it together? Would you say? You would encourage your friends and help them solve it, right? Let's fix it. Somebody said, ask how I can help. Now, I want to ask you, what do you ask yourself when you're having a bad day? We're talking about self-compassion here. And this is a SEL skill that it is important to treat yourself well so others around you will be treated well. Others, I am better at encouraging others than myself. So what I want you to do, since so many of you have shared that you're not good with yourself, I want you to put something kind in the chat that you are saying to yourself right now that we're talking about self. Somebody say, I draw strength from my parents. I ask myself what my mother would say. Very good.
I think of myself.
I go within and start encouraging myself. Miss Johnson, E. Johnson said that. So I need a word that you will put in the chat talking about yourself as it relates to encouraging yourself. Give me several words that you will use to say, good job. For me, I will say, I am so proud of you. You go, Commodore. What are your words? I just model to you what I say to myself all the time, especially when I'm down. And we're going to give you some other words to use as well. But what would you say to yourself? I'm looking in the chat. I'm wanting to see what you're writing to yourself. Words of encouragement. Remember, it's self-compassion day to day. That's what we're calling today, self-compassion. My gosh, Miss Christie says, right foot, left foot, breathe. I love that. I love that. Go ahead and write to me. What will you say to yourself to encourage yourself, to show yourself that you have compassion? So most of us will be kinder. I love that. Okay, Batiste, you got this. Boy, you're God's child. Remember, I love that. Relax. All is well. It is well. It is well. Nice. I love what you guys are saying to yourself. I love that. What if you say that now to yourself? What do you think will happen to your face? Will a smile come on your face? Miss Cooper said, yeah, you did that. What happens if you say that to yourself on a continuous basis? Things are hard, things are tough, schedule is crazy. What do you say to yourself to be compassionate, to be nice to yourself? So you're kind and understanding to other people. Kind and understanding to other people, but you're mercilessly judging and criticizing yourself for your inadequacies and shortcoming. You tell me, if you are doing that, and you're so wonderful to other people, what's going to happen? If you're always giving out and not getting back, what will happen? Exactly, Miss Louder. Exactly. You will become drained. And you will wonder why you're drained. But why you're drained is because you're giving out so much of yourself and you're not pouring anything back into yourself. You're not compassionate. You're not kind to yourself. And so we have to do that. When we practice self-compassion, we become an inner ally instead of an inner enemy. That's profound. I want you to take a moment to reflect on that last statement. Are you a friend of yourself or are you an enemy of yourself? That's the kind of things that SEL talks about. And we process with kids, but how about the adults in the building? We ask, how are all the children doing? But right now we want to ask you, how are the adults doing? How are they taking care of themselves? Self-compassion? Are you a friend of yourself or your greatest enemy and your greatest critic? Because you're going to become drained if that's the case. So it's easier to be kind to others when we are kind to ourselves. Always remember that. Always remember that. So there are three aspects of self-compassion: mindfulness, being aware in the present, allowing your emotions to come. What happens to most of us is that our emotions pass through our thoughts, everything pass through the sensations and emotions that we have. We're not even aware that we're having them. And if a kid crosses our path, we're going to scream at them because you're having something going on in you already that you're not paying attention to, and it's just one more thing. And so when we're not mindful and aware, and saying, I sense myself getting upset. This kid is really aggravating. We don't process what's going on. We don't stay in the moment and say, I am feeling nervous. How can I handle this? Okay, I need to breathe. I need to take a walk. I need to do something for me because I am a friend of myself. And I'm not going to allow my emotions to control everything I do, which means that when we get full, what happens? Anybody want to answer that? What happens when we get full and we didn't know that we were getting full because we're not paying attention? You can unmute and answer and talk back to us if you like. What happens when you get full?
You
tend to
erupt like a volcano.
absolutely like a volcano, right? So what if you're paying attention to your mood all day and your emotions all day, and you know what's happening to you all day and you're handling it all day? What will that do for your emotions?
It'll definitely keep your emotions in check, and it will allow you to communicate more effectively and not put your foot in your mouth and say some things that you're probably going to regret later.
It will allow you to set boundaries. You may tell somebody when they ask you to do that one last thing and you're overwhelmed, you would say, can I take a moment to really take a walk for a moment? Give me about 2 minutes. I'll be right back. I'm feeling overwhelmed right now. What if we do that? That's what being kind to yourself is all about. Okay.
You might like it, but the next person might not like it because you gave them that last time to do what they wanted, what they asked you to do, but you were overwhelmed. So they might get offensive about it, but at least you being honest with yourself and taking care of yourself, because they're going to continue to do that if you don't let them know, look, I'm overwhelmed with this situation. I can't take on that task. But most people probably will try to take on the task and be overwhelmed until the next, like a jack in the box. You know, somebody else turn the jack in the box and put it down, and then the next person pick it up and turn it, and then the next person pick it up. That person next might catch the tail end and didn't know, like, oh, my bad, I didn't know you had that going on. So it's a lot of jack in the boxes walking around waiting for somebody to turn so they can pop out and flip out on. So it's good to
And you
keep
see,
emotions in check.
and you see why now we started out with being good to yourself, because we're taking care of kids. We're taking care of kids, and we're taking care of kids every day. We're not only taking care of kids, we have our colleagues, we have those in our circle that we need to create a cohesive work environment. And if everybody is walking around burnt out, tired, you know, no one is going to want to talk, no one is going to communicate. What if you're passing someone and you're taking care of yourself, and you have a need to be friendly, you know, and you say, your mind is, if you're mindful, it's good. Once you begin mindfulness will always tell you in the moment how you're feeling. But we have a lot of emotions that passes through our brain that we don't even know is going on. And so, you know, if I want to be kind to somebody, I'm going to be, hey, how you doing? Because I am in that moment and I saw another human that is in need of encouragement or whatever. And I filled my battery with already telling myself great things. I'm an ally. I'm a friend of myself. And so when I'm a friend of myself and I'm taking care of my emotions, then I can handle other people. Does that make sense? It does, don't it? So,
Yes, ma'am.
what is self-kindness? Anybody want to read that for me? Can you see it?
Yes, it says caring towards ourselves as we are towards other people. It is choosing to soothe and comfort ourselves when external life circumstances are challenging and feel too difficult to bear. It is offering to ourselves warmth, patience, and unconditional acceptance.
How many of you are good at self-soothing? Put that in the chat. Or we just let the emotion just ride. When life is too difficult, I take a nap. That's how I care for myself. I use my lunch hour to just go in my car and breathe and take a short nap. Because I'm good to myself, because I am SEL director and I have to model to people what I want to see happen. So I don't let myself get overwhelmed, even though I do a lot. I do an awful lot, but I take care of my mood. I'm in my moment and I know what I'm feeling. And when I feel overwhelmed, it's time for me to exit the room and care for myself and self-soothe. I'm still trying to see in the chat who is self-soothing. And how do you, oh, music has kept me out of prison. Yeah. Yeah, you know how to soothe. When life circumstances get to be too much, it is offering to ourselves warmth, patience, and unconditional acceptance. And when you want to learn how to do self-compassion, just think about being kind to yourself. Somebody said they meditate, they pray. I love that. I do that too. Praying is good. Yeah. So we have to learn. We have to learn how to self-soothe. And what happens when we self-soothe? We're modeling to children how to take care of themselves. So when you know what works for you, you can help children learn what will work for them or find it. Right? I'm almost done. And then common humanity. Those are 3 aspects of self-compassion. A sense of interconnectedness, that you're not alone. And in this world, we have people that are flawed, that makes mistakes, that are works in progress, that everyone fails at something. I failed the driving test 3 times. And at times experience hardship. We have to realize it's common among humans. And so a lot of times what happens to us is that we're having to feel like we need to be a hero. And then we're so hard on ourselves. Can you share with me about how you feel about that part, that we're all flawed? We all have something we're working on, instead of you doing something wrong and feeling like it's just you. You're the one making all the mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. All right. So let's get going. Let's move forward for a little bit. And then our hope is that you choose to practice self-compassion every day. The most powerful relationship you will ever have is the relationship you have with yourself. Do you have that? Do you get that? When you're okay with yourself, you will be okay with others. The kindness we give to ourselves is the kindness we will give to others. And my thing to you is be kind to others. This is where we end today. Questions, comments, concerns, problems, or complaints? Let it go. This is your time. Share with us.
Dr. C, I think I kind of needed this today. I'm definitely not in a bad place, but I'm very tough on myself. Mistakes. And I guess that stems from, how I was raised and the background that I come from. Mistakes weren't really, acceptable to a certain extent. And not that I strive for perfection, but I try to be as calculated in how I move as possible. And it bothers me a lot when I mess something up. And even at 50 years old, I'm still learning, you know, to be accepting of my flaws and learning that I make mistakes and that, everybody does. And so I'm getting better. I'm getting better, but I'm at one point I couldn't even admit, And so I think I'm getting there slowly but sure.
Yes. Thank you so much for sharing. This is a reminder that we have to be kind to ourselves because the children are depending on us, and they make a lot of mistake every day. And I know I was raised in a house like yours. We weren't allowed. It's the growth that I've done as an adult. When I realized I will self-destruct the way I was going,
I think a big part of that with me as well is just becoming a parent and realizing that I wasn't just, sailing the ship for myself anymore. I had a crew now. And so I had to adjust the way I moved, and that kind of, changed my way of thinking a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. So, these sessions are only 30 minutes long, and we're just going to come in and do reminders about how to care for yourself and do some SEL skills for yourself. So that way we will learn how to do it for the children and model it for the children. And when we are well, the children will be well. It's very difficult to give from an empty place. And so that's important. And if you are giving out to others more than you give to yourselves, you will burn out. Any question, complaints, feedback? What would you like to know more about? Is there anyone here that has a feedback, complaint? Do you find this beneficial?
I find it very beneficial anytime, when it comes to SEL. My philosophy, one I live by, you heard me say before, is Ubuntu. Is an African philosophy about humanity. Basically, we're all human. We all have flaws, like you said. We all make mistakes, and we see ourselves through others. We live sometimes through others. Like these little kids, sometimes it remind me of how I was when I was a little kid, a little child. So it takes me back to my childhood and be like, okay, I remember when I was a child and did the same thing. Okay, I can relate to that child, how they feel, because we're all human. Nobody's super robotic. We all have problems. And that's one of the things about the philosophy of Ubuntu. I am because we are. If you're going through, I should have enough humanity in me to be compassionate and feel when you're going through. Or when these little kids are going through, we should have enough compassion or humanity to understand, hold on, something's not right with that little kid. Maybe I need to talk to him in a better tone instead of, like you say, coming empty and trying to fill them. Only thing you're filling them with is the spirit that you're operating in. If you're operating in anger, you're putting that anger in that child. So we got to check ourselves on a daily basis, and we got to check on each other. If I know, Mr. Batiste is not feeling good, and I talk to him, I might call and check. Hey man, the other day I talked to you. You might everything good. He might be like, yeah, everything good, but at least I checked on him. Because I felt something's going on. So these. I believe if everybody in the system operate under the SEL how it's supposed to operate, I think the system would be a whole lot better. It's going to take these lessons, personal lessons, and we apply it to our lives for it to be prosperous. So I thank you for everything you taught me when it comes to SEL.
And I want to share, you're welcome, sir. And I thank you for saying that. But I want to share with you that when we don't give ourselves grace, kindness, we won't give it to the children either. When they do one mistake, we'll be balking down their neck because we don't have the room for grace. because we have not given it to ourselves. But when we understand humans are flawed, then we will go into a teaching mode more than a hollering mode. When we understand kids are, of course, sometime we'll talk about that. Their brains are not even developed yet, and they are out there. And so we will go ahead and do more modeling and teaching. Come here. I heard you yelling. Can I show you something? Can I show you how you can do things instead? Instead of, would you stop that yelling? We're teaching skills as SEL. We're teaching them how to behave, how to act. And until their brains develop, they're going to need our help. Does that make sense? All right, folks. Oh, Miss Louder. Oh, you're so kind. Thank you. The only complaint I have is that we don't get weekly sessions with you. Oh, that's so sweet. Yeah, but what we have to understand is that when we're full, we approach children in a different way, even the difficult ones. We'll realize if we gave ourselves grace, then we have to give others grace. If we self-soothe, we will teach others how to self-soothe. But what we don't give ourselves, it's very difficult to give it to others. So I want you to practice that this week, giving yourself grace, self-soothe, be kind to yourself. And when you're practicing that yourself, the people around you will receive it from you. And if there's nothing else, I'm going to go ahead and say thanks for coming in. Dr. Hickson wanted us to, do some monthly SEL things, and she gave us permission to go ahead and start the lessons. And so it is, I'm so sorry that we can't do this weekly. It'll be too much. But monthly, look forward to us coming on and just talking to you. All right. Have a great, great evening. Thank you. Look at the folks. Look at the folks. And so I'm really excited. And you can tell that I self-care, right? Because whenever I see you, I'm all over you. That's what happens. I take care of my stuff. It's not that life is so amazing. It's just that I take care of my stuff. All right, take care, folks. Enjoy.